This is the 3D VIEW-MASTER adventure Popey. VIEW-MASTER Reel 1. Paint Ahoy. Picture 1. The annual Sailors' Ball was coming up and Popey and Brutus had both asked Olive Oil to be their date. Olive decided to solve the problem of whom to go with and get her house painted at the same time. I'll go to the Seaman stands with the one who paints the most of my house, she announced. Popey and Brutus both agreed. So the big contest began. Picture 2. Popey grabbed a brush and a bucket of paint and set to work, humming a gay tune. Soon he was far ahead of the boastful but lazy Brutus. Seeing his chance for a date with Olive slipping away, Brutus decided that if he couldn't paint faster than Popey, then he'd have to come up with a scheme for slowing his rival down. And if there was one thing that Brutus was good at, it was thinking up evil schemes. He moved his ladder just around the corner from Popey, climbed up with his paint bucket and, picture 3. Kersplash! Brutus tipped his paint bucket, accidentally on purpose, right on Popey's head. Yike! Gulped Popey. Spitting and sputtering, he tumbled from the ladder, covered from head to toe with sticky red paint. Picture 4. Swee, bellowed Popey. I am blinded with this stuff. Bring me some turpentine, quick! Swee came bouncing to Popey's aid with turpentine, rags and bowl, and they set about cleaning up the mess that Brutus had caused. As Popey rubbed and scrubbed and brushed and wiped, Brutus, sniggering an evil snigger, was painting away at Olive's house and quickly went ahead in the contest. Hurry up, Popey, Swee warned, for he wanted Popey to win. Picture 5. Seeing how far ahead Brutus was, Popey knew that it was time for him to produce his secret weapon, Spinach. Whipping out a big can, Popey downed it at a gulp. Don't worry, Swee, I'll catch up, he said. With my Spinach making me muscles bigger and me, super brain at work, Brutus won't have a chance. Whee! Shouted Swee, for he knew that when Popey had his Spinach, there was always plenty of action coming up. Picture 6. Again grabbing his brush and paint bucket, Popey was off like a jet. Starting at the very tip of the roof, he raced round and round the house, painting everything inside with one continuous stroke. The startled Brutus could only stand there gawking with astonishment at the flying sailor. Round and round I goes, laughed Popey, and where I stops nobody knows. And when Brutus got in the way of his flying brush, Popey just painted him too. Picture 7. So Popey was the winner. Oh, Popey, you were wonderful, cold olive oil. Even though Popey's speedy paint job had included the house roof and even covered all the windows. It was nothing, said Popey modestly, giving all the credit to the Spinach. And heavy little Swee just laughed and laughed at the sight of big Brutus, who was still trying to figure out what had hit him. VIEW-MASTER Reel 2. Missile Muscle. Picture 1. Attention, attention, the radio screamed. The frantic announcer had terrifying news. A huge rocket had been fired accidentally and was whooshing around the sky out of control. Hide! Duck! Run! He shouted. Don't stand there! Do something! And Olive Oil knew just what to do. She screamed, Jike! jumped 3 feet into the air, ran around the room 5 times, and then raced out of the door, screeching, "Popeye, Popeye!" Picture 2. "Help, Popeye! Save us!" Popeye heard Olive Oil's cries and came running outside. Seeing the huge rocket spurting crazily around the sky, he quickly decided that this is a job for Spinach. Out came the can, off went the lid, and down the hatch went a mighty gulp of the powerful vegetable. Popeye's muscles trembled, his whole body stiffened as the Spinach took effect. He turned his pipe upside down, and flames began to shoot from the bowl. 10, he said, 9, 8, 7, 6. Picture 3. "Blast off!" he shouted. "Here I goes. I am an anti-missile missile." His little pipe spurting flame, Popeye shot higher and higher into the sky. His Spinach powered first, poised to slug it out with the mighty rocket. Picture 4. But the rocket wouldn't fight. It dodged and twisted and turned through the clouds, almost as though it were afraid of Popeye. Maneuvering his pipe skillfully, Popeye took up the chase. Up and down and around they went as Popeye tried frantically to head it off before it crashed. Down below, Olive trembled and twittered, "Oh, save me, Popeye, save me!" Picture 5. With a final twist of his pipe, Popeye caught the rocket head-on. Right at each other the missile and the man sped, one of them charged with a mighty atomic warhead, the other with Spinach. It would be the collision of the century. Could Popeye possibly survive the atomic blast? Could the missile endure Popeye's powerful punch? Picture 6. Kapow, wow, crash, bang, bluey! The mighty roar from the meeting of the two speeding forces echoed across the countryside. The clouds were blasted from the sky by the explosion. The trees were stripped of their leaves. The earth shook. Even Olive Oil trembled. Out of the mushroom cloud caused by the blast came hurtling fragments of rocket and a bedraggled, blackened figure of Popeye. Could he have possibly survived? Picture 7. As his battered body blowed into the ground, Olive ran up, patting her hair in place. Ignoring her boyfriend's condition, she gushed, "Popeye, you're wonderful. I haven't a scratch on me." At this, the figure on the ground stirred, and one eye quivered and opened slightly. "Who?" Popeye croaked. "I am glad to hear you ain't mused up none, Olive. Do you think you could get me another can of Spinach to revive me some?" VIEW-MASTER Reel 3. Swee's Edjamacation. Picture 1. "Well, blow me down," said Popeye, and Olive Oil just about did. "You should be ashamed of yourself. You're a horrible beast," she screamed. All Popeye had done was to insist that Swee had to start to school. But the nearest school was 2 miles away, and there was no school bus. Olive said Popeye was cruel and heartless to even think of sending a little boy that far to school, and, of course, Swee agreed. Picture 2. Even Wimpy agreed, between hamburgers, that it was too far for Swee to travel. Popeye grumbled, as older folks often do, about how much harder he had it when he was going to school, but that didn't solve the problem. He was clearly outvoted. Sweepier couldn't walk to school. So how was he going to get there? Picture 3. While Popeye puzzled over the problem, Sweepier decided to put in his 2 cents worth. Maybe if ice cream's loud enough, he thought, Popeye will get tired of hearing all the fuss and say I don't have to go after all. Wah! He cried. If you loved your little boy kid, you do something about the school. Popeye yelled. Do something about the school, you say, Sweepier. Ya gives me an idea. Picture 4. Popeye wiped out a big can of Spinach. He always kept some on hand for just such emergencies, and downed it with a gulp and a slurp and a smack of his lips. Now, he said, I am off to do something about that schoolhouse for ya, Sweepier. Sweepier jumped up and down with excitement. He didn't know what Popeye was up to, but he did know that Spinach always meant action. Picture 5. Popeye galloped off down the road. 6 minutes and 2 miles later he stopped before the schoolhouse where a class was in session. Popeye politely knocked on the door. Excuse me, ma'am, he said to the teacher, but my little boy kid Sweepier needs an Edjamacation, so he can talk good like his daddy, me. It's too far for him to walk, so I'd like to borrow the schoolhouse if you don't mind. Borrow the schoolhouse? Asked the teacher. Yes, said Popeye. You just tell all the little boy and girl kids to batten their hatches and I'll give them a Joffrey lesson. Picture 6. With that, Popeye scooped up the schoolhouse, astounded teacher, students, and all, and trotted off down the road. With the extra load, it took him almost 7 minutes going back. The teacher was too flabbergasted to protest, and the kids all enjoyed the ride tremendously. Picture 7. Popeye carefully set the schoolhouse down right next to his house as Olive Oil and Sweepier looked on in surprise. How clever of you, Popeye! Olive gasped in delight, but all Sweepier had to say was, ooh! Popeye's solution to the problem wasn't quite what he had in mind.